Well, good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair on this 30th day of January. We got one more day after today. We'll knock this January thing out of the record books. That's right. I mean, one down, just 11 more months to go. I should figure out how many shopping days till Christmas. I don't know.
Just keep us posted, yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Listen, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. We will be talking as we go forward about the situation in the Mideast, which is getting tense. That'll be the lead of our next hour. We'll be talking about that extensively. And what is the long-range plan? Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, says there's never been a more tense time in the Mideast since 1973. And I think he's exactly right on that point. But the question is, why is it that way? And I think that there's a very good answer for why the world is in turmoil, especially now in the Mideast. And are we near a wider war? It seems like things could spiral out of control in about 5 different ways pretty quickly and pretty easily. But we'll focus right off the bat here about the border story. Today, the House Homeland Security Committee began the process of marking up the articles of impeachment against Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of the Homeland Security Department. And Mark Green is the chairman of that committee. Our own Mark Green from the 7th Congressional District of Tennessee serves as chairman of that committee, and he said it's a grave day.
We have not approached this day or this process lightly. Secretary Mayorkas' actions have forced our hand. We cannot allow this border crisis to continue. We cannot allow fentanyl to flood across our border, our criminals to waltz in undeterred. And we cannot allow a cabinet secretary with no regard for the separation of powers or the rule of law to remain in office. That is why today we present this committee with the articles of impeachment against Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
He continued, we gave Secretary Mayorkas 3 opportunities since August, including for these proceedings, to defend his record in person. Each time he delayed and evaded. He even offered to accept written testimony from him in connection with our last hearing, a request he took us up on at 4:48 this morning. The 11th hour response demonstrates the lack of seriousness with which Secretary Mayorkas views his responsibilities. So they gave him an opportunity. Part of the reason we're doing this is because on November 13th, 2023, 201 Democrats, including 13 Democrats sitting here today, voted to refer articles of impeachment to our committee. Every Democrat on the floor that night voted to do so. You don't get to vote for something and then cry foul when it happens. No Democrat has a right to complain about the process without admitting that they regret the vote. We are here because our oath and our duty compel us to be here. The actions and the decisions of the secretary have left us with no other option but to proceed. Mayorkas, as he said, he did put out some kind of statement. He calls the articles baseless and false allegations leveled against him. And I assure you that false accusations do not rattle me and do not divert me from the law enforcement and broader public service mission to which I have devoted most of my career and to which I remain devoted. Wasn't impressive to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Congress has the responsibility to hold the executive branch accountable when they fail to uphold their oath of office, abuse their authority, and or are dishonest with the American people.
In his letter, Mayorkas says, well, the problems that are caused on the border is our broken and outdated immigration system, and this is not new. I forget the number. It's something like 54 executive actions that were taken by President Biden shortly after taking office that changed the way that the rules are interpreted down on the border and gave the Border Patrol a whole new set of marching orders. So that is just, well, I mean, I'm going to have to go to the button early in the game. It is absolute for him to suggest that. It is also, I don't know which one of those two really fits better. I think they both equally fit pretty well. It is both horse and bull. Because I'm telling you, this is on them. You know, I mean, I just keep coming back to my first trip down to the border that I went down twice. And I went down there and I met with some sheriff who said, man, this started to happen the moment that Joe Biden raised his hand and took oath of office. The influx began in a way that it has not begun and we've not seen before. And then he said, in fact, it actually started a couple of days before because it was perceived on the other side of the border that this situation was one where you would be welcomed by the Biden administration. And clearly, why would you not want to come when there's about an 80, 90% chance that when you get across that border, you're going to be welcomed with a slip of paper and pointed north. There's America. Go have your way with it. I'm telling you, I don't understand how he can make the case that this is baseless. He has failed the American people, and the chairman is correct to say we have no other choice but to do this. By the way, Mark Green on this topic will be with us Thursday. Busy week for him. He's got a lot of stuff going on with regard to this, but he will be with us Thursday at I want to say 3:05, right off the top. Mark Green. Let's see. What else is going on? The president of the United States right now is saying that, you know, he's doing all that he can right now to solve the immigration problem. And he said there's not much more he says he can do until Congress acts.
Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
That's disingenuous because he has asked for more border patrol, but he wants the border patrol not to enforce the law, but just to process more people. You know, the stay in Mexico policy could be re-implemented with the snap of a finger. Absolutely could be. But he seems to be making the case that now Congress has to act so that I have some authority to act here. Many people have looked at this situation and say he has all the authority he needs to undo the 54, or I forget the number, but the number of executive orders that he signed that changed the policy on the border. He can reverse those in a moment. If you did it by executive order once, you can undo it by executive order again. He's just making a bunch of noise because he's trying to find a way out of this. The American people know it's his fault, and now he's trying to pin it back on Congress. Say, well, they need to give me the authority. I've done everything I possibly can do.
Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
Again, I must go to the button. It's just unadulterated. I don't understand how he could even make that case. Now there is this talk of a deal. The Biden administration's been talking to a couple of senators, and one of them is a Republican, James Lankford of Oklahoma, who got in so much trouble for doing what he's been doing that the state of Oklahoma GOP party censured him over the weekend. I mean, he's not going to be doing that much longer, I'm pretty sure. But I'm telling you that there is a deal, and we haven't seen the details of the deal. But it sounds like it's dead on arrival in the House of Representatives. And according to this story, House Speaker Mike Johnson took a stand on Monday against a immigration shutdown authority delegated to the president that may be included in the Senate agreement seeking to couple aid for U.S. allies such as Ukraine and Israel in the border reform package. The Louisiana Republican has already warned the deal would be dead on arrival in the House if rumors about the draft proposal were true. Took to the internet to convey his opposition to a purported section on crossings that has drawn a great deal of contention. This according to the Daily Wire. Fox News recently published a report with sources saying the Senate deal would establish a threshold of a 7-day rolling average exceeding 5,000 encounters a day to trigger the Title 42-like authority to quickly remove migrants at the border. And here's Senator James Lankford, who's been working on the compromise, insisted over the weekend that the section in question is being misinterpreted. Right now, there's internet rumors, says Lankford. If that's all people are running, it would be absolutely absurd for me to agree to 5,000 people a day. The bill focuses on us getting to 0 crossings a day, says Lankford. I don't know, but the speaker says it is not done. Here's another story in this regard from Politico.com. Johnson throws cold water on border deal. The Department of Homeland Security be required to shut down illegal crossings if the daily average of encounters surpasses 5,000, and if a one-day total passes to 8,500, DHS would have the authority to shut the border down at 4,000 encounters per day. However, and Biden has signaled he would aggressively use that authority. Once the mandatory shutdown is enforced, it would take 2 weeks of starkly lower illegal crossings to reopen the border to crossings other than asylum appointments at port of entry. As a result of high illegal crossing numbers, the border shutdown could continue for weeks or months until the situation numbers go down. That is what he's saying. But Johnson says that the president already has ample authority to restrict entry of illegal immigrants, and I think he's right on that. By the way, a lot of people have said, well, Johnson's just now he's standing his ground on this deal, and he's against it, even though he hasn't seen the deal, the details of it. He's against it because it's what Trump wants. Trump wants to run on this issue, and Johnson said that's absurd.
I have talked to former President Trump about this issue at length, and he understands that. He understands that we have a responsibility to do here. The president, of course, President Trump, wants to secure the country.
Yeah, and then Texas Governor Abbott has sent a stark message to sanctuary cities as the migrant crisis continues. This, according to FoxNews.com, vowing his state's transportation of migrants to their areas would continue until the federal government takes action on the worsening border crisis. Texas has transported over 102,000 migrants to sanctuary cities. Overwhelmed Texas border towns could not bear the brunt of Biden's open border policies. Our transportation mission will continue until Biden secures the border, Abbott wrote on social media. Abbott's promise comes amid his feud with the Biden administration over enforcement of the border and whether Texas has the authority to defend itself from the waves of migrants overwhelming law enforcement and immigration officials. The two sides have been feuding since 2021. What happened in 21? Oh, yeah, that's when Biden became president. And again, another story here, townhall.com. Biden can stop the flow of illegal immigration now, and he's refusing. Again, remember that this was all brought on by Biden, and it could be ended by Biden in very, very short order with the one phone call, a few executive orders, and the snap of a finger. We could be right back where we were before he took office. But he doesn't want to do that. And now he's trying to blame it on Republicans. I think the American people are smart enough to see through that number. As I said, it's all 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing. You'll know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. They have smart care plans start at just $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And that's a pretty good deal. And because they treat a whole family, even newborns, they can offer family plans as well. Now, in conjunction with a high deductible insurance plan, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
We've got a street near downtown has collapsed. We'll tell you where. We'll tell you what's going on there traffic-wise. Not a good day at UPS, and a large drug trafficking stop. We'll tell you. 3:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. I have been since I got here. I will be as long as I can still get to the microphone. And I claw my way. I'll still be here.
You have to get one of those little chairlift things to ride you up the stairs.
Right,
to the studio.
I'll be there in a minute. I'm walking across to the studio. Yeah, no, listen. You have to claw this microphone out of my hands. That's what. Listen, good to be here. You got Mac Morey there with all the stories, and you got Chris Webber there with all of the blinky buttons, and I am here in bucolic Watertown, where it's been sort of a pleasant day, 56 degrees. It seems cooler than that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it does seem a little cooler to me, but I will say this: I saw some nice sunshine peeking occasionally today. I'll take that.
Yes. I'll take it.
Of course, it's cloudy right now. Of course.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it comes and goes. That's the thing. And so there we have that. Now, I hate to steal your thunder in the newscast, but I did want to talk about these drug busts. They're really something. I mean, these drug busts that have occurred. There's not just one, but there's two, actually. The first one was in Nashville, and apparently it involved, TBI, the DEA, and the Metro Nashville Police Department all working together in concert. This is from WKRN's version of it. A massive drug bust spanning multiple states has arrested 3 people, and 120,000 fentanyl pills were seized. They've been doing this investigation for a long time. The DEA, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Metro Nashville Police received information on Monday about a rental vehicle that was transporting a large quantity of narcotics from Los Angeles to Nashville. This was apparently its final destination. Agents established a perimeter in the eastbound lanes of I-24 at approximately 7 a.m. to find the vehicle, described as a Nissan Rogue bearing a Florida license plate. The Nissan was reportedly spotted by agents about 8:30 near Exit 1. Metro Police initiated a traffic stop on the vehicle at approximately 9:15 and observed 3 people inside. K-9 handlers approached the Nissan and asked the driver, identified as 44-year-old Antonio Johnson, to step out of the vehicle. An arrest report states that when the passenger, identified as Derek Johnson, moved from the passenger seat to the driver's seat and then fled off at a high rate of speed, he was booking out of there. But you can outrun, my squad car maybe, but you ain't going to outrun our helicopter. MNPD's Air One helicopter apparently was able to locate the vehicle, and they noticed that things were being tossed out of the window. See, that helicopter is really something quite amazing. 2 duffel bags. They were trying to get rid of the evidence, right? But we have, because of the helicopter, you have a recording of them throwing the stuff out. So there's the evidence you need. They left the rental vehicle in the area of McFerrin Avenue. Johnson kept driving at a high rate of speed. He eventually bailed from the vehicle and fled in the area of 7th Avenue South. 120,000 fentanyl pills. That's a lot. And 28 pounds of meth. That's a lot. That's a lot of meth, and that's a lot of fentanyl. I mean, that's enough to kill a lot of people right there. So congratulations on that. Then here's another one. You may have missed this one. 32 kilograms of cocaine seized during a Williamson County traffic stop. Kilograms. That's 32,000 grams of cocaine. Deputies in Williamson County have arrested 3 individuals after 32 kilograms of cocaine was found hidden in a truck during a traffic stop in Spring Hill. Sheriff deputy observed a vehicle was speeding and followed another vehicle too close in icy conditions. This was back on January 17th. Authorities reported none of the occupants inside the vehicles had valid driver's license, and a K-9 It's always the canine that'll get you, indicated the presence of narcotics, which led to a subsequent search. Inside the vehicle, found 32 kilograms of cocaine inside the door panels of the truck. So this was another major narcotics trafficking bust, this time by the Williamson County Sheriff's Office and the DEA.
That's over 70 pounds, by the way.
That's a lot of cocaine.
A lot, yeah.
That's a ton of cocaine. Now, I'm wondering, are these two related? In other words, did somebody infiltrate what was going on out in L.A. and knew this stuff was coming in, and were they looking for it? I don't know. I can't say that the two are connected, but it sure is interesting that you get two really big drug busts that are sort of connected. But, of course, this one was on January 17th, and the one that they got, the fentanyl pills, was just yesterday. So congratulations to law enforcement keeping that stuff off our streets. We appreciate you. 30 minutes now past the hour.
"30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 57 degrees. We've seen that sun peek out here and there today. Going to stay mainly clear for the rest of this week. Slight chance of showers today, and we'll keep you updated. Full weather forecast traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. One lane of Division Street near downtown Nashville, it's collapsed due to ongoing construction. Channel 4's Brendan Tierney provides more information.
A stop work order was issued after the collapse happened right about noon this afternoon. So all of the construction workers that were out here in the Gulch working on this project have gone home for the day. I want to show you the area right behind me where the collapse happened. It's where this group of workers and engineers are standing right now. That's where the dirt collapsed. The road of Division Street went down as well with it. The Office of Emergency Management has been out here this afternoon trying to figure out what happened.
And one lane of traffic has since been reopened. Not a good day at UPS. The company announced this morning it'll be cutting 12,000 jobs. CEO Carol Tome says 2023 was a difficult year. Revenue came in $1 billion under expectations, and labor union costs are rising. Federal agents in the U.S. say they've dismantled a large drug trafficking ring that spanned Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Search warrants were executed around the U.S. today. The drugs, including fentanyl, have been flowing mainly to Canada. Here's Alex Stone with some details.
According to federal authorities, it was a sophisticated operation. A guy in Canada would buy large amounts of drugs from cartels in Mexico. He would hire long-haul truckers to move the drugs along smuggling routes from L.A. to places like Montreal, Toronto, and Calgary. Because in Canada, illegal drugs can sell for 20 times more than in the U.S. Now 12 of 19 suspects are under arrest.
And that is the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, you know, Valentine's Day just around the corner, and are you looking for one of the thoughtful romantic gift for the ones you love this Valentine's Day? 2 words for you. Go to Genesis Diamonds. This is going to work out great for you guys. Maybe it's a simple pendant or an exquisite one-of-a-kind designer ring. Genesis can help you pick out the most memorable and special piece of jewelry for that occasion. And to make it even sweeter, from now until Valentine's, whether you spend $199 or $199,000, Genesis will give you some chocolates, fresh flowers, and dinner out at no extra charge. That's right. There's a great deal, guys. It's a one-stop ultimate Valentine's experience. When you buy any piece of beautiful jewelry, they will give you some beautiful flowers from Jenny Florists, some yummy chocolates, and gift card for dinner at STK Steakhouse. And tell me, folks, I've been there. It's swank. So stop wasting time. Get to Genesis Diamonds. They've got a spectacular collection of memorable romantic gifts from $199 to $199,000. And right now, they're going to throw in chocolates, flowers, and dinner out at no extra charge. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs. How you doing out there? It's Tuesday, January 30th, all day long, 3:38 now on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson, your friend, and your ever faithful radio buddy. We're here, bringing you news and information all the way until 7 o'clock, where we turn it over to Mark Levin. Why don't we do a little 2024 update? I got all kinds of stuff to talk about here. You know, we're in it. I mean, we're already less than a year away to inauguration. So a lot of ground to cover this year, and you need to be plugged in every day. We'll give you each day a couple of cracks at getting the very latest information. So it really behooves you to tune in and make sure that you're up to speed on everything that's going on with the election, because there are so many moving parts to this situation. All right, so I'm going to start with numbers. First, let's talk about, I don't know why even bother on this part of it, the GOP nomination numbers. Because Trump there's no doubt he's going to be the nominee. They were talking for a while that the GOP, the RNC, was talking about going ahead and just declaring him the presumptive nominee. But apparently Trump said, no, don't do that. We'll just let the thing play out. But I don't see any way that Nikki Haley has a pathway to becoming the GOP nominee. Trump, 81, Haley, 18, which means, and the Morning Consult numbers suggest that Trump is 63 points ahead of Nikki Haley for the GOP nomination. Emerson has it a little tighter, but not much. Trump 73, Haley 19. They have it at Trump plus 54. There's another poll that came out, University of Houston, Trump plus 61. So, I mean, look, there's no other outcome here except just, given a little time, short of something that we just can't imagine, it looks like Trump is, going to sail through this thing. And I don't know why Haley continues to stay in the race. I can't figure it out. When you get to the general election, again, we seem to see a lot of numbers like this. Emerson poll has Trump leading Biden by 1. But if you do a four-way, that's just a one-on-one matchup. But if you do the four-way race, Trump leads by 2. I cannot think of a recent example where when you look at all 4 of the candidates that are officially out there, and there may be more, we're talking about RFK and Marianne Williamson and West and all those guys. When you add them into it, it almost always takes away from Biden and not from Trump. I can't think of a time recently where Trump has lost in the 4-way or 5-way comparison. Now, there may be other middle-of-the-road or moderate candidates or independent candidates that get in. We'll see how that plays out. But right now, their polls continue to have Trump leading. I think the last time I checked it, Trump on average was leading by about 3.8 points, about 4 points. The other thing that's sort of interesting is, I don't understand. I keep reading these stories that are out there saying that George Soros is spending a boatload of money to try to turn Texas blue. I mean, to me, that's fool's game. That's folly. I don't know why you would even try to do that, because I don't think you're going to have much luck with all of that. Nonetheless, they continue to try. And the University of Houston did a Trump versus Biden analysis, and how, if the election were held, and we're just talking about in Texas, how would Texans vote? Would they vote for Trump or would they vote for Biden? Trump wins by 9. So, I mean, what are you doing? I mean, what is your game there? How's that going to work out? Trump would win by 9. And, it's still, I don't care. Everybody says, well, Texas is becoming more purple because a lot of people are moving there, blah, 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 blah. Well, they're moving there because they don't like where it was, where they were, and they want something better and different. So, I mean, the people who are moving are I think, it's sort of like what we're experiencing here in Tennessee. Everybody says, well, the Californians are coming out here. They're going to change everything. They're going to want to make it like California. That's not the way it comes across at all. What I'm finding is that a great number of people in those parts of the world just couldn't take it anymore, and they're looking for what we have. They're very excited about being in a conservative state because they themselves were conservatives who just couldn't take it any longer in a very liberal state like California or New York or, some of the others. So anyway, I don't know why Soros is spending money to try to convert Texans, but I don't think it's ever going to have, there's a long way from that, the way I see it. And I speak because as that is my home state. I think I know a little bit about Texas politics. Illinois has rejected a move to keep Trump off the ballot. This is once again one of those 14th Amendment cases where they said, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment says that he's an insurrectionist and therefore we can keep him off the ballot. The Illinois State Board of Elections, according to the Washington Times, on Tuesday, that's today, voted to keep former President Donald Trump on the primary ballot, reasoning the board doesn't have jurisdiction over constitutional matters. The vote was unanimous, from the 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans on the board. That's right. Even the 4 Democrats decided that it was a stupid idea to try to take him off. It would have taken a majority to remove Trump from the ballot. So it was the latest. I mean, one Democrat, if the 3 Democrats had defected and said, and 4, well, see, no, it would have been, they would have had to have gotten 1 Republican. You're right. The vote was unanimous, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans. It would have taken a majority to remove Trump from the ballot. It was the latest decision in Mr. Trump's favor amid efforts across the country to knock him off the ballot because they believe, somebody believes he violated the insurrection clause, which is just not true. We remember the Supreme Court is slated to hear arguments on February 8th to decide the legitimacy of a Colorado case disqualifying Mr. Trump from the ballot because he's an insurrectionist, and the impact of that decision will affect other nationwide efforts to remove Trump from the election ballot. I don't think that it's going to go. Ted Cruz, who I think is a pretty shrewd legal mind, some people say one of the best legal minds in the country, quite frankly, says he would not be surprised if it was a 9-0 ruling from the high court, doing away with this silly argument. But once again, now we have Illinois, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, all saying, are you crazy? You can't do that. What kind of legal stuff are you trying to pull on us here? This is interesting. Many people are wondering, will the legal cases against Trump have any impact? And I think there's a lot of problems with some of these legal cases that are pending out there. Here we go. From the Washington Examiner again. A little-known Obama administration directive intended to shield the White House from foreign cyber attacks may be relevant to former President Donald Trump's liability in his criminal classified documents case, this according to a Freedom of Information Act request from a conservative legal group. America First Legal, a nonprofit headed by former Trump advisor Stephen Miller, shared with the Washington Examiner its 6-page FOIA request seeking to understand more about a very secretive information technology committee created by former President Barack Obama after a fall 2014 foreign cyber attack breached an unclassified network that serves the executive office of the president. Now, again, a lot of this is really obscure stuff, but listen. Between reports of 2 separate hackings believed to be tied to the Russian government in the late 2014, spring of 2015, former President Obama created, via executive action, a White House Information Technology Director and an executive committee for presidential information technology. He then put out a 2015 memorandum establishing the president's exclusive control over information resources provided to the president, the vice president, and this executive group, the executive committee. Moreover, it made very clear that any records sent to the EOP systems or records stemming from those systems are controlled by the president. So because of President Obama's executive action, President Trump could reasonably have concluded that all the information provided to him in office was within his exclusive control. This according to the AFL, the group that requested the information, the FOIA request, which referenced the classified documents case led by Special Counsel Jack Smith. In other words, this ruling may have created a reasonable belief in President Trump that he, in fact, had such an authority, according to the release that was put out by those folks who got this document. Additionally, if the records allegedly destroyed are still preserved within the EOP or the Department of Defense, then other claims in the indictment may be baseless. Wow. So they got the document, and they think this is important. And so, again, when you get into the depths, into the legal weeds on this stuff, it does appear that a lot of these cases have real weaknesses, all these cases that are pending out there. I mean, you got the high court trying to decide whether or not these lawsuits about the 14th Amendment, that's going to get resolved, I think, in favor of Trump. You got this one. This is the classified documents case. And people, we were told, don't really care much about it, but one way or the other, I think you can make a case that that it's got some weak elements to it that may not stand up. A lot of these things are beaten with good lawyering in advance of an actual trial, to be honest with you. And that sounds like what's going on here. They're pulling up a lot of documents. And by the way, the President of the United States can declassify at will just by thinking the thought. And that's something that was sort of established during the Obama years. When Obama accidentally released information, they said, well, he's released classified information. Not possible for him to be in violation of classified, because if he wills it to be in the public domain, it is in the public domain and there's no other challenge. He is the ultimate receiver. The president is the ultimate receiver of classified data. And if he decides to reveal it, it means that he has made a conscious decision that it no longer needs to be classified. And he has the ability to do that at will. Absolutely at will. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock.
A response coming to the drone attack that killed 3 American service members in Jordan. A Davidson County correctional officer under arrest. And an update on the ongoing impeachment inquiry into Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. That and more 4 o'clock Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Mac Morey. Listen, let's look at what's going on with the market today. Dow Jones Industrials were up 133 points. S&P down just a little. The NASDAQ was down about 118. So we have a mixed board here today. A lot of what's going on right now is the result of reaction to high-tech earnings and also an eye toward what the Fed may do in its looming rates decision. Let's check in more with John Maxon on that over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, you're right. It's a big week for tech earnings. In fact, right after the bell today, Google and Microsoft reported their earnings. Google beat the revenue estimates, but they fell a little short on their ad revenue, which concerns the market a little bit just in terms of business activity. So it'll be interesting to watch that stock tomorrow. But the big news tomorrow is the Fed's first meeting of the year. And I think it's pretty unlikely that the Fed is going to make any monetary changes. They're going to want to see continued progress on inflation. But what's going to be interesting to see is any language they use to drop a few hints about the potential timing of rate cuts later in the year. So it's a really key meeting. The market's going to be looking for direction. Also, a lot of employment information due out at the end of the week. Tomorrow's a big day for the Fed.
All right, thank you very much, John. Learn about all the things that John and the other good people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for retirement by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. All right, let's talk about Busy Bee, HVAC and plumbing. They're the folks you want to turn to if you have a problem with your air conditioning system, your heater system, your plumbing systems. They do it all. And by the way, some new things coming down the pike at Busy Bee. Just stay tuned for that. Listen, you're not going to find a better value if you finally get to the point where you have to replace your system. And they'll give you all the options, but sometimes, these systems don't last forever. And when it comes time to replace it, you're not going to find a better deal than you'll find over at Busy Bee. The way you keep your current system running is to make sure you have a lot of preventative maintenance, and that's what the Beehive Club's all about. You get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at your plumbing. No overtime charges, 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybehvac.com.
It is 4:01. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 55 degrees in Nashville, and we've got no really showers expected. Clear week ahead. Traffic complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. This just in Tennessee. Channel 4 reports that 2 bodies were found at the North Nashville apartment complex this afternoon. The Haynes Garden Apartments at 2715 Whites Creek Pike. Metro sending homicide investigators to the scene. We'll keep you updated with additional information as it comes in right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And the U.S. has promised a response to this weekend's drone attack that killed 3 American service members in Jordan, saying it'll be carried out, quote, over the course of several days and will be striking multiple targets. Now, an Iran-backed militant group set up in Iraq has said it's suspending its military actions. Here's Louis Martinez.
We have to see how this actually plays out over the coming days. The United States has pointed the finger at this group as potentially being behind these attacks. And so if they do, in fact, suspend their activities, the question then becomes for how long? And is this the message that the United States has been trying to convey all along to these groups by these retaliatory airstrikes that have been taking place over the last couple of months?
Crime in Tennessee, a Davidson County correctional officer, Bryson Hayes, facing assault charges after a jail-related incident that happened in December. An arrest affidavit says Hayes punched an inmate with a closed fist and put him in a chokehold after the inmate spit on him twice. Hayes is currently on administrative leave pending a temporary transfer to a non-public safety position while the criminal case is still pending. Hayes posted a $3,000 bond and was released yesterday afternoon. In the nation's capital, in a press conference, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson defending the decision to move forward with an impeachment against Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. The Department of Homeland Security calls the effort baseless and a political stunt. It comes as the House Homeland Security Committee considers articles of impeachment against the secretary in a hearing today. Jay O'Brien.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson defending House Republicans' efforts to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, saying that he disregarded U.S. immigration law in the administration's handling of the southern border.
He has presided over and helped usher in the largest illegal immigration catastrophe in our nation's history. It's not even close. He has willfully undermined America's laws.
Johnson promising a vote on the floor soon.
Drugs in Tennessee. 3 people arrested after being found with 32 kilograms of cocaine. It was hidden in the back of a truck. It was about 2 weeks ago in Spring Hill. A traffic stop was conducted. They had a canine go and sniff the car, and they alerted to have it searched. Most of the cocaine found inside the door panels. The occupants of the vehicle have been identified as 41-year-old Carla Lisette Hernandez, 18-year-old Carla Ayala Hernandez, and 32-year-old Giovanni Flores, all from Houston, Texas. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hour number 2 now, beginning of the drive on this 30th day of January. And we're about to wrap up this month. I mean, it won't be long before we're having Groundhog Day. Because,
that's right.
I always like to get my weather prognostications from a rodent. I think it's one of the more reliable ways that we can get our weather prognostications.
Be February Friday 2nd.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're right there. All right. Listen, we got a lot of stuff going on. I think the situation in the Mideast is perilous. I do. I think we are, one misinterpreted action or one thing that goes awry away from having a much larger conflict. I mean, think about what we got. We've got ships in every body of water in that region right now. I mean, tons of them. We got the Iranians who are acting badly, supporting all of their proxy groups to attack not only Israel, but now our troops. We had 3 Americans that died over the weekend, and they were the first to die, but there have been a lot of injuries. I think, just then dozens and dozens of attacks have been carried out by Iranian-backed proxies in the region against our troops. We have troops all over the place. We got them in Jordan. We got them in Syria. We got them in Iraq, and they're all over the place. And they're coming under attack as Iran not directly getting involved, but having their proxies do the dirty work to sort of brush back the United States. They're not happy with our support of Israel, and that's the main reason that is all happening. So all of that is going on, and we are now, because of the deaths of 3 American soldiers, we are now trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to play a soundbite of Biden going to the chopper. He's going to the chopper, and he's on his way out. And look, if the White House wants the president to come to the microphones, there are a lot of places he can do it. They can make that decision anytime they want to do it, but they keep him away from the microphone. So Biden walks out and he sees the reporters who were there gathered on the lawn to watch him walk to the chopper, and they always try to shout out a question. And most of the time Biden doesn't want to talk, but he comes over, he toddles over, shuffles his way over to the press corps, as he does these days, takes off his aviator sunglasses, and he's going to take a few questions. The problem is Marine One is like, 50 paces away with its engines running, and you can't hear a dang thing. So I love this moment from Fox News today where Biden answers some questions and then tries to walk away. And Dana Perino, who's a former White House press secretary, sort of loses it for a moment, but she's right. She's absolutely right about this.
I do hold responsible offensive of supplying the weapons.
That's terrible to me. That's terrible. If they, at the White House Communications Office, want him to make news and want him to take questions, do it in a way where the American people, our allies, and our adversaries can hear him clearly. And then you won't get all the questions as to his mental capacities, because you could actually hear him if he's being coherent. I find it professionally insulting, as somebody who used to work there, that they think that this is good enough for the president to take a question like that when you can't actually hear him above the rotating blades. The other day, he was at the Nowhere Coffee Company. He answers a very important question about troops that have just been killed. It's not good enough.
It's not good enough. It's just, wrong, especially when something that is said could be so easily misinterpreted in a very tense situation in that part of the world. She's right about this, but they're trying to hide him, and every once in a while he does something that he's not supposed to do. His handlers tell him, just go straight to the chopper, Mr. President. He said, no, I'm going to go over and talk to these nice people from the press corps. And then, of course, you get a little out of it. What he did say was he holds the Iranians responsible in that they supply weapons to the Iranian-backed militias. And they are the backing of, they back up these militias that are attacking us, is along with what he said. And it doesn't get much better. They then get on the plane, and the official briefing of the day is held on the plane on Air Force One because, quite frankly, if they do it there, they don't get asked a lot of pesky questions because the group of reporters traveling with the president is much smaller than those that would be in the White House briefing room. But you can't hear John Kirby talking because you're on Air Force One. Here he is. He was asked the question. You can sort of hear him at least, better than you could hear Biden, talking about, well, why should you wait? If you know what you're going to do, the president has said he knows what action is going to be taken. He's decided upon it. Then why wait? Why give them a chance to the people who are going to be attacked a chance to run and hide?
Why wait for, it's about 48 hours-ish now since the attack happened. Are you essentially giving these groups the opportunity to move personnel, move their weaponry out of the way? And what message does it send by waiting 2 days to strike back at this point?
As we said, Amr, and as the president has said, we're going to respond, and we're going to do it really in a way, in a time of our own choosing. That's no different. That's not a different approach than we've taken in the past.
All right, so I think you could hear most of that through the roar of the of Air Force One. Again, it is amazing that they are handling communications that are vitally important to the national security of our country and to the world, and they're handling them in a way that you can barely understand the people who are making the comments. I mean, come on. Enough is enough. Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, has a statement. He said to cameras that he thinks things are as bad now as they've been in a long, long time.
I would argue that we have not seen a situation as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973.
1973, when I was just a junior in high school. It's been that long, he says. But I think he's right. I think things are tense and fraught with peril when you've got the whole region on tenterhooks and tense and easily misunderstood, and each side lobbing weapons at the other. This could go south. This could go sideways in a real hurry. I think he's right. But the question becomes, well, okay, yeah, but who's responsible for it being the way it is? And 1,000% I put this on the Biden administration. Here's why. He is perceived around the world as being weak. You hear him say all the time, we're going to respond to these attacks against, but we don't want a wider war with Iran. No, we don't want a wider war. We don't want to widen this thing. He's basically signaling to Iran, I'm not going to do anything to you personally. We'll take out some of your troops, maybe some of your militant militia groups that you're supporting, but we're not going to attack Iran. And Iran just keeps on supplying the militants around the region to carry out attacks against Israel like they did on October 7th, starting a war. It's all because they know Biden's ultimately not going to do much. We had a congressman yesterday on our show who said, you know what? Yeah, they feel like they have to respond, so they go find some empty, warehouse somewhere, and they bomb it in the middle of the night. Reporters can't get there. They can't independently verify what happened. It's not possible for them to get there. And so it sounds like they did something. They check the box and move off. But really, did they change the situation? No, they did not. He called it feckless. And that's right. Their responses have been feckless. Absolutely feckless. So, I don't know what they're going to do. But I doubt that it's going to be anything of any consequence because they're just deathly afraid. Oh, my goodness, we might get into a larger war. And you know what? They have good reason to be concerned. But I got to tell you, we wouldn't be in this mess if people around the world still respected the power of the United States and had some respect for the man who is the leader of the free world and the commander-in-chief. They have zero respect ever since Afghanistan. That's why Putin rolled the tanks into Ukraine. That's why the Chinese are being adventurous. That's why the North Koreans are being adventurous. That's why Iran is funding all of these groups that attacked Israel, and now they're attacking us because they know that nothing is going to happen. But it wasn't that way under the previous president. They always had to wonder, what will his response be? We can't predict, and therefore they behaved. It's just maddening. All of this is because of the weakness of our current commander-in-chief. There was a bit shocked, stunned, and amazed that Biden had not, the death of these 3 soldiers happened over the weekend, and as of yesterday, the president had not spoken to the families. We're talking to the families of Sergeant William Jerome Rivers of Carrollton, Georgia. Specialist Kennedy Layden Sanders, 24, of Waycross, Georgia. Specialist Breonna Alexandria Moffitt, 23, of Savannah, Georgia. They were all killed in the drone strike Sunday that targeted a small U.S. military base in northeast Jordan known as Tower 22. But he did talk to the families eventually because people were shocked that he hadn't. I mean, I don't think it ever occurred to them. Oh, yeah, maybe we should call the families. And because they're catching a lot of blowback about not caring about the troops, the president said he will attend the dignified transfer at Dover Air Base in Delaware, and that will take place on Friday. A tremendous loss to these families, of course, and one that was totally avoidable. They're still trying to figure out exactly how the drone made it there, but the working theory is that the rebel drone followed an American drone back to base and wasn't noticed because it was, I guess, in the same radar signature as the U.S. drone, was sort of hiding right behind, right on the tail of our drone. And then when our drone landed, what's that? And it was too late. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let's talk about the good people over at DT McCall's. Do you know that this family-run company has been around in Middle Tennessee for more than a century? More than 100 years. And you know how that happens? Because they have a reputation for treating people right. If you don't treat people right, you're not going to be around that long. And one of the things that they do is they always try to respect you by giving you an honest price. Some of the big box stores, they don't play fair. They play dirty. They'll give you a price, and you'll think it's a great price until they add on things like delivery and setup and haul away and all the little doodads you need to make the thing work, hoses and cables, etc. See, at DT McCall's, they're going to give you a good price, but it's going to be an honest price. They'll never charge you extra for delivery, setup, or haul away. And whenever possible, they like to sell products that are made and manufactured right here in Middle Tennessee. England furniture does not come from England. It comes from Middle Tennessee. And they've got a line of mattresses that are made right here in Middle Tennessee that are fantastic mattresses. I have one. I love it. You're going to love yours. Find out about all the things they can do for your house, just about anything, your furniture, appliances, whatever you need. They're going to have it for you. Go to their website and find out about the convenient location nearest you. That's dtmccalls.com.
Updates from the nation's capital concerning an unfinished bipartisan immigration deal. We got a lane near downtown Nashville closed due to its collapse, plus some money news. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, these roads, I tell you what, I mean that is a major collapse. I've seen the pictures.
Seriously.
They're really quite something. Yeah. I mean, it's like there's a big hole where a road used to be.
Yeah, it's not hyperbolic. It really did collapse. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah, it really is. It's something to see. And then, you know, the thing that's going on, there's pothole hell out there.
Oof. Tell
I
me about it.
I have my little GPS thing that tells me when there are potholes ahead.
Oh, nice.
That's all it does. Pothole ahead. Pothole ahead.
I had to
pothole
turn
ahead.
that thing off, man.
I know. I mean, I was getting tired of it, but you know, it's my ways. I need to know where the cops are, so I keep it on. But nonetheless, pothole ahead. Pothole ahead. Okay, enough. I know there are potholes ahead everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, and some of them are bad.
Really bad.
I mean, you know, you can mess up your car. Worse than Cabana wife messed up her car by hitting a deer.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, the deer hit her.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I'm
get it
sorry.
right.
I don't want to start that fight again. Speaking of cars, we told you the other day that GM was thinking about rethinking its strategy with regard to EVs, not selling electric vehicles because nobody wants them, the purely electric vehicles. So here's the word. Now apparently it's official. General Motors is changing its product lineup strategy to include plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. In other words, hybrids. That's the key word. This came from CEO Mary Barra. She did not disclose specific details of the plans other than that the hybrids, which include an internal combustion engine along with a battery technology, will be rolled out on select vehicles in North America to assist meeting more stringent federal fuel economy regulations. They are now more companies are considering the viability of the hybrid to appease consumer demand. They're caught, really, because the government says, here are the emission tailpipe standards you must meet. And then you have the public saying, but we don't want electric cars. So what is the solution? To do a lot of hybrids, where you get some electric and you get great gas mileage, but you still need gas. And by the way, I think it's the way to go. It doesn't meet everybody's need, but I think it is a much better way to go because you're never going to get stranded as long as you got a little gas in the tank. That's the thing that worries so many people is they get out somewhere, they can't find a charger, or the weather's bad, and how do you keep going? Well, the engine fires up and you put a little gas in the tank and you keep cranking. The gas motor, the gas engine actually runs a generator that then powers the electric part of the vehicle. That's the way it works. So the hybrids apparently are the way that they're going to be going. The purely electric vehicles, I guess they'll still be looking at them. They might be making some of them, but the general sense of it is that the world is not ready yet. They've come to that conclusion, and they're listening to their customers. I think in the perfect world, they'd like to continue making gas-powered cars for people who want them, but I think that they're put in a bind because they have to meet the emission standards set by the Biden administration. So just understand, you need to understand this clearly. If you cannot get the car that you want at a time, when it's time to buy a new car and you can't get the kind of car you want, the main reason may be because of the emission standards placed on automakers by the Biden administration. And somebody who's very much a part of all that is old Gavin Newsom out there in California. They set standards that the auto industry has to follow because they can't afford to make two different types of cars, and they sell a lot of cars in California. So they usually roll over whenever California does something because they can't try to build two kinds of cars. They have to build one kind of car. So Gavin Newsom is also a part of this for sure. Very quickly, UPS announced 12,000 job cuts today. And they say that this is because they've not made as much money and business is incredibly slow, was slow last year, and the prediction is it will be slow this year. I think when you see UPS, it's concerning because they're a bellwether company. When UPS is not doing a lot of business, it's because people aren't shipping products. And when people aren't shipping products, that means that the economy's in a slump. And, I don't know what's going on with the way the Biden administration, puts forward its numbers, so it's hard for you to see it. but it seems to me that there is still a slump out there, and this is a sign of it. 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 55 degrees in Nashville. We'll let you know what the forecast looks like. Traffic report as well just ahead. House Republicans signaling they won't support a still unfinished bipartisan immigration deal that senators have been haggling over for weeks. In a press conference today, House Democrats accusing them of ignoring their responsibility to reform the nation's immigration system amid an ongoing crisis. Jay O'Brien.
House Democrats slamming House Republicans for turning against a still unfinished bipartisan immigration deal being haggled over for weeks in the Senate.
In a shameful display of partisanship, they are abdicating their responsibility to solve problems on behalf of the American people.
Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar there. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson saying what he's heard about the deal still doesn't go far enough.
What's been suggested is in this bill is not enough to secure the border.
This is some breaking news from Channel 4. Multiple law enforcement agencies are investigating reports of a man with a gun near Capshaw Elementary School. This is in Cookeville this afternoon. They say the suspect was described as a white male, 6'3", 30 to 40 years old, and was wearing a tan suit. Again, an armed man reportedly seen near Capshaw Elementary School. We will keep you up to date on that story right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Now over to some money news. Daria Albinger fills us in with the market.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks closed mixed as the Fed huddles on interest rates. The Dow rose 134 points while the Nasdaq fell 118 and the S&P gave up 3 points. Analysts expect the Federal Reserve to leave a key interest rate alone at this meeting, but at the next one in March, the central bank could announce its first interest rate cut in years. Microsoft and Alphabet reported their latest earnings just after the closing bell. Both companies' numbers beating analysts' expectations. United Parcel Service says it's going to cut 12,000 jobs in the coming months. After releasing disappointing earnings, UPS is also hinting that its Coyote truckload brokerage business may also be put up for sale. Consumers are feeling a little more confident than they have in 2 years. The latest index from the Conference Board, a business research group, rose for the third month in a row.
And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let's talk about gold, which has been used as money for millennia. It's a tried and true store of value, consistent across generations. Some have observed that generational wealth has three components: land, art, and precious metals. And who knows about art? I don't. Land is hard to get right now because of interest rates, but precious metals, you can buy them. And they're real. They're tangible. You can hold them in your hand. Listen, inflation is currently decreasing the value of your money, and gold and silver can be a safe haven during uncertain economic times. You can learn all about the importance of owning precious metals by going to Nashville Gold and Coin. Maybe you have some gold that was given to you you're not sure what it's worth, or maybe you're just curious about learning about precious metals and you need to learn more. Well, this is a great place to start. They are always available to discuss your options and educate you on the precious metal market. So do what I did. Go to Nashville's real money source, Nashville Gold and Coin, and you can set up your one-on-one appointment by going to their website, NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. "38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. You're listening to The Drive. Hope you're getting home safely. Try to, get there without falling into a gigantic crater, highway, or a pothole, or without hitting a deer. All those things would be really good. Or having a deer hit you. Whichever.
Yeah, either one tear you up pretty bad.
Yeah. A bunch of different stories here. Again, they don't relate to each other, but I think they're interesting. Elon Musk says that they have placed a Neuralink implant into the brain of a human. Now, that sounds sort of weird. Like, his whole idea is to connect the brain to computers, and that's the neural link from your brain to a computer. But in the early going, it's really pretty basic stuff. It really is being done on a quadriplegic with the idea of being able to move a cursor on a computer. And, that's a much more understandable thing. Now, but long term, he envisions a day when everybody will have a chip in their brain to interact with computers. You don't have to type, you just think. And the computer understands your intentions. I don't know if that's happening, but anyway, they did do it, and the human received an implant, recovering well. Initial results show promising neuron spike detection. In other words, the chip is actually picking up neuron spikes. Now they just have to teach it how to interpret those spikes, and it's placed in a part of the brain that's known to apparently guide what they call movement intent. In other words, the brain gives you intend to move, and then a whole other series of neurons fire that actually cause you to move. But that first part of it is you intend to move, and then other neurons tell your body how to do what you intend to do.
Maybe Joe Biden needs to get one of those.
Maybe we could all understand him if he had a Neuralink chip in his brain. Because I can't understand a word the man says now. I mean,
he'd know how to get off stage.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe he would just understand how to get off stage, and he wouldn't sound like this.
The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder what it's called.
What I don't understand is why they were laughing.
I guess they must have somehow understood the joke.
I don't know. I'm worried about the group that was there. Now, ultimately, Elon Musk, likes to brag about things and his vision for the future. He says that he has some big plans for this chip down the line. You want to hear some of these things? He said, you could probably save state in the brain. So if you were to die, your state could be returned in the form of another human body or a robot body. He compared it to saving the processes of backing up a video game. This would be something analogous to a video game, like saving the situation where you're able to upload your last state, where you were. Maybe lose a few memories, but it would mostly be you. That's what he says. He thinks this thing will be used for. He said it would help avoid extinction, to help humans compete against artificial intelligence. Musk has previously expressed concerns that humans could face an AI extinction event if they don't take action to compete with the technology. In other words, we're not good enough to compete with the artificial intelligence. We need some help to do that. He said one of his long-term goals is for people to reach symbiosis with artificial intelligence. He means he wants humans to reach a state in which they coexist with AI in a mutually beneficial relationship. So there you go. Okay, good luck on that. I won't be putting no chips in my brain, I promise you. The only chips I'm going to be putting is dipping them in salsa.
Tater chips.
That's right.
Corn chips.
This is scary. A notorious ransomware gang claims that it has been able to obtain classified top-secret documents from U.S. intelligence agencies. This is a group called Black Cat, more commonly known as ALPHV. It's threatening to release classified and top-secret documents from numerous U.S. intelligence agencies, including the FBI. They say they actually breached a technology company. It says that it had successfully pilfered 300 gigabytes of data from something known as the Technica Corporation, a company which, according to its website, supports federal government and their mission to support, to defend, and protect American citizens. He said, if you don't pay up, we're going to release it. It's not as if they're doing it, they're going to say, well, we're going to release it, and it'll be embarrassing. Well, they say it will be embarrassing, but they're saying that what they really want is they want to get paid. I think that this is probably the Russians, and I think that they have taken the information. They have absorbed it. I don't think that they think that there's a great deal of benefit in releasing it publicly. But, you get to absorb some intelligence from the United States and get paid not to release it to the general public. It's a scam, man. I'm telling you, something weird going on there. So, you may think, oh, the world is just too much. What I really need is a nice trip to the Bahamas, put my feet up on a beach in the summertime, maybe take a cruise, go to Jamaica Man, or go to the Bahamas. No, you don't want to do that right now. United States residents traveling to the Bahamas should exercise extreme caution in Nassau in the wake of 18 murders since January 1. Yeah, it's a small island. Wow. The State Department said in a travel advisory. Murders have occurred in all hours, including broad daylight on the streets. Retaliatory gang violence has been the primary motive. Extreme caution is necessary in Nassau. Use caution when walking or driving at night. Keep a low profile. Be aware of your surroundings. Do not physically resist any robbery attempts. And review your personal security plans. Or if you're going on a cruise, don't get off the boat. Which, of course, the cruise lines love. They don't want you to get off the boat, really.
That's right.
That's right. But it's apparently in Jamaica as well. Has led the state to, they said in Jamaica they have the same kind of concerns. Shows that there have been 33 murders in Jamaica in the first 13 days of January. That would be a pretty high murder rate for an island nation the size of Jamaica. Okay, now where are we on the whole? And maybe Mac Morey wants to weigh in on this. If you, Mac, are you there? Put on your headsets there for a moment.
Yeah, of course.
I hear a lot of people who complain about Taylor Swift and seeing Taylor Swift at these NFL games, and that the networks pay way too much attention to Taylor Swift. And that they don't think that that's appropriate. And Taylor Smith is right there on the football field at the end of the game, hugging on and kissing her boy and doing all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, I look at him, I say, I think it's real. I think it's genuine. I think these are two young kids that, are sort of in love. I don't know how long it's going to last. What's your sense of this? Does this irritate you like it does so many other people?
No, and I know a bunch of Chiefs fans that it irritates too. I don't get it. I think the stat is 0.4% of the games that the Chiefs have played, she's been on TV for. It's something like a minute and a half of
total.
Total of 9 hours of football now in the playoffs. It's like, I mean, really, we're going to get upset 90 seconds. Yeah, I think whatever her and Travis have, it seems to be pretty genuine.
I think it seems to be sincere, but I mean, I understand she's Tay-Tay. We've had our issues with Tay-Tay for sure.
Of course.
But I don't want her to, I want the girl to be happy. At the end of the day, I want her to find a nice boy and settle down.
My mom said it really nicely, I thought, is that it seems like she's really enjoying getting to just have fun like a normal person. I know she's up in a press box, in a nice box with nice food and everything, but she's enjoying a football game with her friends, having a drink, going down to see her boy. She's doing normal person things for the most part, and I don't think she's ever really gotten to do that. So I think it's cool.
That may be true. I don't know. But here's this. Taylor Swift has generated $331 million in brand value for the NFL.
That's why they keep showing her.
That's right. Taylor Swift has brought to the NFL has brought $331 million in enhanced brand value thanks to all the publicity, the social media chatter she has generated since her romance with Kansas City Chiefs star Travis Kelce. Look at the impact Swift has had on the NFL over the last year by Front Office Sports reveals she's created equivalent brand value of about $331.5 million. It's based on Swift's reach and impact. Look, I mean, I know, listen, I know what Taylor is. I know that she's way out there to the left and all of that, but, we've got, she's, by the way, one of the things she's doing is she's getting people to register to vote. That should be concerning to us, but I don't know. I'm not a Taylor hater.
I didn't see the same outburst of people when they showed Eminem at the Detroit Lions game several times these past couple weeks. I mean, people loved seeing Eminem at the game, so I just don't see the difference there. We show stars all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting that there's such an outrage about it. And I'm not. Look, I'm probably there's no percentage in me saying this. Because the people who are outraged about this are outraged. It doesn't bother me that much. I say, well, it's sort of interesting. Look, there's an interesting star in the book. And look, she's dating a superstar football player.
Yeah.
How can you not be interested in a storyline like that?
I mean, if they started missing plays because they're focused on the cameras on her, then that's a problem.
Oh, I will be ticked off if that happens. Let me assure you.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know. It just doesn't cheese me off like it does apparently a lot of people. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's that I don't know. I don't care for her music and I don't care for her politics, but I don't hate her. I just can't find myself finding that kind of animus toward her. 50 minutes now past the hour 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, if you're in the market for a pole barn, you need to talk to the brothers that run Stoltz Co. The two guys who run that are the folks to talk to. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, fair prices. They can build you a new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that is the Stoltz Co. difference. Now, you can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can be a classic tool or a classic work barn, a garage. It can even be a place to live. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So why don't you go to stoltzco.com, that's stoltzco.com, and take a look at some of the things they've done for other people. And you're going to look at them, you're going to say, wow, I can see how I could use that. That's not my grandpappy's pole barn. That's something new. That's something different. That's something better. Then give them a call at 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. Again, that's stoltzco.com, stoltzco.com.
An update on that armed suspect that was spotted near Capshaw Elementary School. Gaza relief aid, a WeGo bus driver helping out the patrons on that bus, alerting everyone of a situation. We'll tell you how he did it. And some news in sports concerning the University of Tennessee. It's all coming up 5 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so here's the most dangerous place that you can be on a flight. You have turbulence. Turbulence can be a problem. The most turbulent flight in America, the link of the one town to another, the route that has the most turbulence is from Nashville to Raleigh-Durham.
Huh.
Yeah, more turbulence on that particular flight than any other flight in America.
I wonder why.
So I don't know. When you if you have to fly to Raleigh-Durham, you be sure to take your Dramamine, I guess. I don't know. It is 58 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 54 degrees, traffic, weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Starting with some breaking news. Channel 4 reports that there is a heavy police presence in South Brentwood right now. The presence is in the 1200 block of General MacArthur Drive. Officials say the situation is contained to a single resident, but they're asking others to avoid that area, and both Lipscomb and Williamson County schools have been notified. In another update on a breaking story in Tennessee, there were reports of an armed man near Capshaw Elementary School this afternoon. Now, updates have been provided. It was a local attorney who was transferring a firearm from his car to his wife's vehicle after he'd gotten into a car accident. There is no threat. And the United States has suspended funding to a UN Gaza relief organization while it investigates claims that some of its workers may have been involved in the Hamas October attack on Israel. Andy Field.
The U.S. has already given more than $120 million to the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, also known as UNRWA, but that's now on hold.
Funds that we were planning to provide to UNRWA, that funding has been suspended.
State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller saying some of those UNRWA workers may have helped with the October 7th attack on Israel.
Right now in Tennessee, a WeGo bus driver put up a call 911 display on the bus to alert people that there was a situation ongoing. 40-year-old Augustine Collier allegedly came up behind a woman and tried to take her phone, was accusing her of taking photos of him. The driver slammed on the brakes, which caused him to fall down and allowed others to separate him from the woman. Collier later admitted to officials that he intended to choke her. Collier was taken into custody and charged with robbery and drug possession. A cleanup underway after an Amtrak train derailed in rural Colorado between Denver and the Nebraska line. Here's Alex Stone with details.
When the Amtrak train hit a truck carrying milk in Weld County, Colorado, the train derailed. 69 passengers were on the train. None was seriously injured. One engineer and one passenger did have minor injuries. The conductor was seriously injured. Heavy equipment has been brought in to help stabilize the Amtrak cars. Other trains have had to stop in Denver and in Lincoln, Nebraska, waiting for it to be cleared.
And in sports, the NCAA is again investigating the University of Tennessee for potential rules violations. The allegations are in relation to name, image, and likeness, or NIL. Chancellor Donde Plowman called the allegations, quote, factually untrue and procedurally flawed in a letter released by the university today. The NCAA's policy is to refrain from commenting publicly about current, pending, or potential investigations, with rare exceptions. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
All right, good evening, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for, let's call it 2 more hours. We're going to be giving you a lot of news and information over the next 2 hours so you can be well informed about what's going on in the world around you, and you'll have stuff to talk about over the dinner table with the fam when you get home, okay? That's what we're all about. Get you home safely and then tell you some stuff. The 2 goals. Get you home safely, tell you stuff. It's a pretty simple mission we have here.
We just keep it vague.
That's right. Stuff. We're going to give you lots of stuff. The situation on the border continues to spiral out of control. That goes without saying. But there are 2 big fights that are developing. One is between the state of Texas and the federal government down on the border about who has control over the border and all of that. So that's one big fight. The other big fight is happening in Washington, where the Biden administration wants certain things, and the Republicans have told the Biden administration, you can't have it unless you secure the border. And so there have been a lot of big discussion going on behind closed doors, smoky closed door meetings where they're not smoking anymore. Nobody smokes, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff going on in closed door meetings where they're trying to work out some kind of deal that would allow the border to be more secure, but would also then provide some funding for Israel and Ukraine. Now, the Biden administration is not going to get the funding for Israel and Ukraine unless the Republicans are convinced that they have taken steps to secure the border. And you got the president of the United States out there saying things like, "I've done all that I can do. I don't have the authority I need.
Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right."
Well, let me tell you, that's absolute, HS is what that is. He has the authority to do. It was his decision to pass a bunch of executive orders when he went into office that changed the way that the Border Patrol does its job on the border. They said we're gonna interpret the, and there's 50. I think it's something like 50 some odd executive orders that he put out that changed the way the border is patrolled by the Border Patrol and by ICE. And immediately the situation got bad, right? So if he had the authority to write the executive orders, which apparently he did, he has the authority to rescind them. But he's now, he's in trouble because he's looking at the polls and he realizes Americans think this is a bad deal and I'm being blamed for it. So I've got to somehow shift the blame. So, honestly, without the American people, if they are buying this, they are the most gullible individuals in the world. I can't believe you would buy this after all this trouble. He did exactly what he wanted to do, and now that he's catching a lot of flack for it, and the American people are expressing their outrage, and he realizes I've got to get reelected, well, now he's trying to shift the blame back on Congress. Now, I asked for Congress to give me some things that I needed. Well, the stuff that he asked for was dead on arrival the moment it came out, after he was sworn into office. It was dead, completely dead, because he didn't want to fix the problem. He simply wanted to find pathways to citizenship for all these people and make them American citizens. Republicans were never going to go for that, and I'll tell you something else, a fair number of Democrats were not going to go for it either. So when he says, well, I need Congress to act, no, you can solve this problem like that. You absolutely can. Katie Pavlich. As lawmakers on Capitol Hill continue their negotiations over a border security bill, one that Republicans say is dead on arrival, President Joe Biden has successfully convinced onlookers that he needs Congress to fix the current crisis that he created. The facts show he doesn't need Congress or massive, comprehensive immigration reform plans, as the White House press secretary continues to present to the media. He simply needs to get out his pen, just like former President Donald Trump did, to stop the unprecedented flow of illegal immigrants to this country. Here are 5 things he can do today to blunt the current invasion. Number 1, first and foremost, reinstate remain in Mexico for those claiming asylum, which would immediately cut down on millions of false asylum claims and a years-long immigration court backlog. Number 2, end catch and release into American towns, cities, and community. Number 3, use the Immigration and Nationality Act to suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restriction he may deem appropriate. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's the boss in that regard. Restart, number 4, restart construction on the border. Miles of wall are currently sitting stacked up and rotting in lots, ready to be built. Number 5, reinstate asylum cooperative agreements with El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, which force asylum seekers to file claim in their home countries first. And those things would solve a lot of the problems right now. So, look, what's going on with this plan? What's going on with this deal? I don't know, but what I'm hearing is it's dead on arrival in the House of Representatives. Here from Politico, Speaker of the House Johnson throws cold water on border deal. He says it's dead on arrival. This is the valve to manage the overwhelming number of illegal crossings. It allows immediate operational control. Just shut down the border. You have the ability to do it. Apparently the deal, I can't, nobody will tell you straight what's in the deal. I mean, there's all of this talk, well, it would let 5,000 a day through. Then James Lankford, who was behind closed doors negotiating the deal, said that's not true. That's not true at all. It's a bit more substantive than that. I would never allow that. So I mean, but where's the deal? Why, if what is the purpose of hiding from the American people and from Republicans the terms of the deal that you're talking about? The idea is, well, we're gonna pass it in the Senate. I don't think they're gonna pass it in the Senate. They might. I don't know, but I don't think they will. But if they do pass it, they get enough Democrat votes to pass it and shove it down the throats of the House. The House is not going to move forward unless it's convinced it actually will work, and I don't think they're going to be convinced of that. Speaker says it's dead on arrival. Some have said, well, the Speaker is doing that because Trump says he wants to run on the issue and not to let them fix the problem. It's a good campaign issue. I think that is wrong, and the Speaker was asked about that. Are you talking to Trump, and is this the reason why you oppose the deal?
I have talked to former President Trump about this issue at length, and he understands that. He understands that we have a responsibility to do here. The president, of course, President Trump, wants to secure the country.
Yeah, he does. And I don't think that that's the reason why this is falling apart. I think it's falling apart because the deal that's been negotiated in backroom meetings is not a good deal and doesn't really solve the problem. So I think Johnson is correct to say, well, we're not going to do that. But, if you think you've got a good plan that actually gets it done, well, tell us what it is. For goodness sakes, it ain't that hard. Just come out and say, here's the plan. And I think it's a good plan, and we can make our decision whether we think it's a good plan. But I don't think it's a good plan, and I think that Johnson has gotten pretty good intelligence on this. The other thing that happened today is that they began marking up, that's a term they use, marking up the articles of impeachment toward Alejandro Mayorkas, the chairman of the he's the Secretary of Homeland Security. Here is the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee on Capitol Hill, our own Mark Green of Tennessee. He's the chairman of that organization, and he says this is a grave day.
We have not approached this day or this process lightly. Secretary Mayorkas' actions have forced our hand. We cannot allow this border crisis to continue. We cannot allow fentanyl to flood across our border, our criminals to waltz in undeterred. And we cannot allow a cabinet secretary with no regard for the separation of powers or the rule of law to remain in office. That is why today we present this committee with the articles of impeachment against Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
So this goes to the floor of the House, and it probably early February, I think it will pass the floor of the House. Now, you hear a lot of reporters say, well, it has no chance at all in the United States Senate, and they're probably right. But here's the thing. There's still value in going forward with this. Number one, I think it's going to come out of the House of Representatives, not only with unanimous Republican support, but the support of more than a few Democrats, maybe, 10, 12, 14, somewhere like that. I think they'll vote in favor of the articles of impeachment because they got to run for re-election. And a lot of these people know that if they're standing there defending the actions of Mayorkas, it's not going to bode well for them when they run for re-election. And I think the same thing might happen in the Senate, but one way or the other, if it gets to the Senate, the articles of impeachment go there and they got to hold an impeachment trial as required. It takes a 2/3 vote to actually convict him. I don't think they'll get to 2/3, but what will happen is every Democrat's going to be put on record about what they think about the situation with the border. Do they agree with the approach of Alejandro Mayorkas, or do they disagree with that policy? And therefore, then they're held accountable, the 1/3 that are running for re-election. So, yeah, put them on record. Make them say it so that, if they want to support Mayorkas, that's fine. If they're running for re-election and a third of the Senate runs for re-election every 2 years, and this time around more Democrats than Republicans are running, then they're going to have to defend their position on the border. That's all good and fine. I got no issue with that. I think that's just fine. So you may get some squirmy Democrats over in the Senate who have to go along with the idea. We'll see how that all happens. So that's happening right now. And again, will they get a conviction? No, I don't think they'll get a conviction, but I do think there's value in putting people on the record. And I believe he should be impeached. Don't get me wrong. I just think the numbers are such that he probably won't be impeached. So there you have it. Mayorkas, by the way, says all of these allegations against him are baseless, that there's no there, that if you impeach me, then you have to impeach every Secretary of Homeland Security since we've had a Homeland Security Department. Texas Governor Abbott is still standing by his decision to send illegal migrants to sanctuary cities. He says, listen, we're going to continue to do it. Texas has transported over 102,000 migrants to sanctuary cities. Overwhelmed Texas border towns should not bear the brunt of Biden's open border policies. Our transportation mission will continue until Biden secures the border, said the governor on social media. So there is that. The Supreme Court did rule 5-4 decision on an emergency appeal last week that gave the Border Patrol apparently the authority to cut razor wire, but they're not cutting it. They're leaving it alone for now. And it seems that Biden doesn't want to have a wider fight with the state of Texas. So it seems that, the state of Texas did not blink, but the president of the United States, at least for the moment, has. Understanding how bad he's getting crushed on this issue as he's trying to run for re-election. 20 minutes now past the hour.
A street in downtown Nashville totally collapsed. It's causing a traffic issue. Got some crime in Tennessee, a big drug bust. Plus, the CDC out with a warning. We'll tell you what. 5:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
All right, it's time for Mac Morey's wild world of sports. And now here he is. Without further ado, Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Hello. So this is the show, point in the show where you take off the news hat and put on the sports hat for a moment, and we talk about the sports of the day.
Hat.
I know. All right. Well, I know. It's it's a theater of the mind. So you have to imagine he's taking off his hat.
Never mind.
It's a big floppy hat. And now but we do have some news. So let's not waste any time. We have some sports news regarding Tennessee.
That is right.
Yeah.
Not the best news you'd want to hear if you're a Volunteers fan today, including myself, obviously an alumni there. The NCAA is going to be investigating Tennessee for violations, for NIL violations to be specific. That's name, image, and likeness. Now, if you're not really familiar with that, it was just a couple of years ago that they finalized NIL being legal. If you're a player on a college football team, you are now able to make money, able to profit off of your name, off of your image, off your number. You're able to, sign a deal with Cane's Chicken in Knoxville. If you're a Tennessee football player, you're able to go be like a professional athlete and make some money off of signing signatures off of your name because you provide a profit and a revenue piece for that school. And so now that's been finalized and that's legal. But there are lots of ongoing rules as how to actually figure this out in the NCAA. And I don't think they have it fully figured out as to what is allowed and what's not. So now they're investigating Tennessee for violations related to NIL. And Tennessee is fresh off of an NCAA ruling in summer of last year in which it was charged with 18 Level 1 violations, and it was fined a record $8 million. So this is back-to-back seasons now that the NCAA has been up Tennessee's behind, saying, hey, what are you guys doing over there? Now, the chancellor for Tennessee has responded in a letter that the school released today. And Donde Plowman is her name, and she said the NCAA's allegations are factually untrue and procedurally flawed. Moreover, it is intellectually dishonest for the NCAA enforcement staff to pursue infractions cases as if student athletes have no NIL rights and as if institutions all have been functioning with a clear and unchanging set of rules and willfully violating them. So she's kind of saying in a much more formal way, you guys don't necessarily know what you're looking for either.
The rules are vague, is what you're saying.
Exactly. So she's basically denying anything. She's calling them untrue. And this is now the third formal NIL investigation, Florida and Florida State, the first two. Really, Florida State was the big one. And now Tennessee coming up right now with a big investigation being hit there.
Well, I mean, it's not a good thing, but I mean, does she have a point? I mean, can she prevail in this matter? Can this Tennessee prevail?
Absolutely. I'm waiting for more specifics to be released, but I think Plowman, I mean, she has no reason to lie here. And after coming off of a big investigation last year and a big hit,
you would think they'd be watching things pretty carefully, right?
Exactly. And, Tennessee, SEC school, been a huge benefactor of NIL. They have been a big beneficiary of this rule so far. They've gotten a bunch of recruits, a bunch of players from NIL. So I'm sure there's a lot more, numbers, contracts, things to follow at Tennessee right now, maybe more than some other schools. So I don't really know what to think of this right now, but Plowman hinted at the scope of the charges by defending Tennessee from perceived lack of institutional control. And she goes on furthermore to say, it's inconceivable that our institution's leadership would be cited as an example of exemplary leadership in July of 2023, and then as a cautionary example of a lack of institutional control only 6 months later. So she's saying, you guys were being so prideful of our school for how great we've done in this area. And then 6 months later, you're coming at us saying that we violated all of these rules.
Well, where does it come from, though? Does it come from the NCAA, or does it come from other schools who are sort of agitating the situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, formally, it's from the NCAA, but yeah, there's no question who's in their ear and saying, "Hey, what's Tennessee doing over there? How'd they get this person?
How'd they
get
figure
this
that
guy?"
out? Right? Yeah.
It just makes you wonder because are they doing some? Is Tennessee doing something different than every other major university in the nation that deals with this exact same thing that is not coming under fire for this, or is Tennessee just being, like you kind of were alluding to, kind of being picked on maybe a little bit?
I mean, I think this is going to be the first domino to fall in what is going to be a bunch of investigations due to the lack of real, systematic build here for the NCAA. They don't have a real system, a real formula built for NIL yet. They said, you know what, that should be legal. Let's make that happen. And now they're going to have a bunch of problems because they don't have really designated rules here and
kind of making
laws.
it up as they go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so
that's
Tennessee's saying, hey, you haven't said anything here yet.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think you make a good point. Well, we'll watch it. Time now to put back on the news hat because it's time for the news at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
5:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Coming up, a traffic report and a weather forecast. Currently 52 degrees in Nashville. One lane of Division Street near downtown Nashville collapsed due to ongoing construction this afternoon. Channel 4's Brendan Tierney providing more info.
A stop work order was issued after the collapse happened right about noon this afternoon. So all of the construction workers that were out here in the Gulch working on this project have gone home for the day. I want to show you the area right behind me where the collapse happened. It's where this group of workers and engineers are standing right now. That's where the dirt collapsed. The road of Division Street went down as well with it. The Office of Emergency Management has been out here this afternoon trying to figure out what happened.
They got one lane of traffic opened right there. Crime in Tennessee. 3 people were arrested after being found with 32 kilograms of cocaine hidden in the back of a truck. It was about 2 weeks ago that this happened. It was in Spring Hill. A traffic stop was conducted. They had a canine on the scene. Most of the drugs were found inside of the door panels. The occupants of the vehicle have been identified as 41-year-old Carla Lisette Hernandez, 18-year-old Carla Ayala Hernandez, and 32-year-old Giovanni Flores, all from Houston, Texas. And the Centers for Disease Control warning healthcare providers across the country to be on the lookout for measles cases after recent outbreaks. The disease coming up again about 20 years after it was thought to have been eliminated in 2000. Here's Dr. Jennifer Ashton reporting.
Initially, it looks like a flu-like virus, and the incubation period and the infectious period can be as long as 3 weeks. It can be serious. 1 in 5 people who are infected with measles are hospitalized, and the possible complications involve lung, pneumonia, encephalitis, permanent disability, and in some rare cases, death.
And that is the latest news. Traffic weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
38 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is, believe it or not, 50 degrees outside, but it doesn't feel like it. I mean, I was out. I don't know. I've got a chill in my bones since it was cold the other day, and I just can't get warm. I don't know what it is.
I got the air conditioner on in here, so it's like, 10 below, I think.
Yeah. I feel like an old granny. I need to have a blanket, Maybe I'll just sit here in my shawl, and do this program going forward. I don't know. But one way or the other, it's not cold, but it feels cold. Some Tennessee news, and this just breaking, and this is going to be sad news to a lot of people. 6 anti-abortion protesters convicted of federal felonies in a Mount Juliet clinic blockade. Nearly 3 years after a group of anti-abortion protesters from across the country blocked the entrance to a Mount Juliet reproductive health clinic, 6 of the defendants have been convicted of federal felonies that could translate into years of prison time. This from the Tennessean this afternoon. The jury delivered the guilty verdict Tuesday afternoon after a trial that lasted 1 week and featured video evidence of the group's 2021 march or blockade of the Carafem Health Center Clinic and testimony from police, a patient, and an employee at the clinic that day. It took the jury nearly all day to reach that decision. The deliberations began at 9 a.m. Convicted are Chester Gallagher of Lebanon, Paul Vaughn of Centerville, Heather Idoni and Calvin Zastro of Michigan, Coleman Boyd of Bolton, Mississippi, and Dennis Green of Cumberland, Virginia. This is a pretty hefty fine. It faces up to 10 years in prison and fines of up to $260,000. They are scheduled for sentencing hearing on July 2nd, according to a news release that came out this afternoon from the U.S. Attorney's Office. It was the U.S. Attorney's Office that brought this case. Those defendants knowingly chose to violate laws they disagreed with, said the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee. The jury's verdict today is a victory for the rule of law in this country and a reminder that we cannot pick and choose which laws we follow. It is also a testament to the outstanding work in the case by the trial team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the U.S. Attorney speaking. And so that's going to happen. The group came with pre-printed flyers that stated they were acting biblically and rescuing the innocent, while they anticipated their arrest, stating what really happened today in Mount Juliet. Police arrested peaceful, obedient Christians. An officer with the Mount Juliet Police testified that roughly 20 to 25 protesters were there that day. Police responded to the scene after the protesters refused to leave, asked by property managers, and disrupted other businesses in the building. Many of the protesters left after police warned them that they could be arrested. Well, it's a sad state of affairs is what that is, and sad news for those of us who believe in the right to life. But there we go. Boy, there have been a couple of big arrests that have to do with popping some big drug dealers, it sounds like. 28 pounds of meth, 120,000 fentanyl pills. So this is from WKRN Channel 2. A pretty interesting story. A massive drug bust spanning multiple states resulted in 3 arrests and the seizure of 120,000 fentanyl pills. It was worked by the DEA, the TBI, and Metro Nashville Police Department. They got a tip about a rental vehicle on Monday that was transporting a large quantity of narcotics from Los Angeles to Nashville. Apparently, Nashville was the end-all destination. I mean, we keep hearing a lot of things come from California to Nashville. California. How many times, Chris, have we done stories about narcotics coming through B&A and the dogs catch it?
Oh, yeah.
And it's always the flight originated in California.
Yep.
There is a pipeline, it would seem. Agents established a perimeter in the eastbound lanes of I-24 trying to catch the vehicle, which was said to be a Nissan Rogue bearing a Florida license plate. They spotted it. I'm going to try to just cut through the narrative here because it gets kind of complicated. About 8:30, they stopped. After they stopped, somebody jumped into the driver's seat and then took off. So there was a chase. But we had our police helicopter, the Metro Nashville police helicopter, which has some really sophisticated tools on it, and they recorded people in the Nissan Rogue trying to get rid of the evidence, throwing it out the door while they were traveling down the highway. So we know what they tried to do, and then they finally did, after a little chaos and some running and gunning, they did finally make the arrest. Authorities reported, well, here we go. The record showed they got several people arrested here, and none of them seem to be local. But a ton of fentanyl. Fentanyl is, we keep talking about what's happening on the border. Fentanyl pills, the 120,000 fentanyl pills can kill a lot of people. And 28 pounds of meth is nothing to sneeze at. So congratulations to TBI, DEA, and Metro Nashville Helicopter Squad for all of that. Then there was this, and you figured it out. You figured out what the weight of this was. 32 kilograms of cocaine seized back on January 17th. And you said, what, that's how many pounds?
70 pounds.
70 pounds of coke. Oh, my Lord, that's a lot of coke. That's not an insignificant bust. This happened in Spring Hill. The Department of Justice, the incident unfolded on January 17th. Williamson County Sheriff's Office saw a vehicle that was speeding and following another vehicle too close in icy conditions. They stopped them. None of the occupants had a valid driver's license. And the canine was brought in, and they said, the canines indicated the presence of narcotics, which led to a search. They found 70 pounds of cocaine wrapped in black electrical tape hidden in the door panels of the truck. So this wasn't, this was a sophisticated trafficking deal. You got 41-year-old Lisette Hernandez, 18-year-old Ayala Hernandez, 32-year-old Giovanni Flores, all from Houston, Texas. And all three have been charged with possession with intent to distribute cocaine, according to the Department of Justice. So, good work, Williamson County. Good work, DEA. Good work, TBI. Great work, MNPD. Taking drugs off the street, man. I'm telling you, you're doing good work, keeping and making this a better, safer place for having that stuff off the street. But, man, what does it tell you that there's so much drugs coming into our area? So many drugs. You've heard it in the newscast, and it is true. A part of Division Street is gone. A hole in the ground has gotten larger. An entire lane of Division Street where they were doing construction just collapsed today. It's a big deal. It was down to one drivable lane, but that could change. Seriously, they were doing some work on it, and it just gave way. I tell you what, between what's happened down on Division Street and what's happening on the roads, I was talking earlier how, man, I got in, I had to make a trip, a pretty good, 20-mile trip. And all my Waze was going was pothole ahead, pothole ahead, pothole ahead, pothole ahead.
That's exactly what it seems like.
I know, man. And so, you got to be sharp. You got to be, really, really, really careful.
You run in a pothole trying to avoid a pothole.
That's right. I was trying to dodge that pothole, and guess what happened? I hit another pothole.
Yep.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And it's that time of year, and it takes a while for them to patch them all up. And then it really takes, the cold patch doesn't really work that well. It's just a temporary fix. They have to wait till the temperatures get to a certain real temperature before they can put the hot mix in. And then maybe they can do something. We've been talking a lot about the governor's plan for vouchers, and I just throw this out there. I like the idea. It's called the Education Freedom Scholarship Act. Would give $7,000 to 20,000 students the first year, and then there would be a means test on that. But then the second year, the goal is to have it available to anybody who wanted to take advantage of. Now, if you don't have a problem with your kid's school, you don't have any obligation to take the money. But if you want to go someplace else, you can. So the question was there was a poll taken about Republican primary voters. Who's this? Conducted by Coefficient and the Tennessee Education Association. They wanted to know what Republican voters thought about it, and they came back saying that 55% of likely Republican primary voters oppose the plan. I don't know that I think it depends on how the question is asked. Was it a true poll or was it a push poll? You know what a push poll is? That's where they push a bunch of facts that help sway the outcome of the answer before they ask you the question. I don't know. I'd like to see how the questions were worded before I believe this. And again, the sponsorship by the Tennessee Education Association catches my attention. See, they're going to try to do everything they can to kill off this idea. I think, look, the voucher plan if your kid is going to a school and the school's not performing, you ought to have another option. Why should you be forced to go to a school that's not getting the job done? And what makes those schools do better? Competition makes them do better. And so I'm all in favor of this whole idea of giving people the opportunity to go someplace else if they don't like what's happening at their school. And then this, a bumblebee found in Tennessee. That's right, from KRN.
What?
Once found in much of the United States, wildlife officials are now seeking to add federal protections for a species of bumblebees that researchers, but they just call them bumblebees. They don't actually call them bumblebees. That's just me.
Oh, I thought it was a new kind of bee.
No, it's a bumblebee.
All right.
I just call them bumblebees. That researchers believe is declining at an alarming rate. The real thing is federal protection for a bumblebee. Over 250 species of bumblebee worldwide, more than 40 of which were found in North America. However, some species have shown signs of decline, with the Southern Plains bumblebee now half as abundant as it was a few decades ago. They've already disappeared in 6 states, and there's some talk about putting them on the Endangered Species Act. I didn't know bugs could make the act.
I didn't either. Seemed to be kind of hard to enforce that, though.
Well, we do need bees. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
I'm in favor of bees, except when they try to sting me. But I mean, for our ecology, to make the world work right, we need bees to pollinate.
Yep.
The 9 species. Well, anyway, they say that they have a bumblebee found in Tennessee could be on the endangered. So if you see a Southern Plains bumblebee, be nice to it, okay? Don't swat it. Just shoo it away because they're endangered. 51 minutes now past the hour. How are you faring in the rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and help you make mid-course corrections that might be needed as you head toward retirement. Wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Listen, folks, don't wait too long to do this. Beacon can provide you with the reassurance you want. Now, it starts with a phone call. I'm going to give you a number. I'll repeat it several times. You should write it down, and you should give them a call. 615-488-9303. That phone call will get it started. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. You have nothing to lose in all of this thing except for potentially the worry that you have about your retirement. The number again, 615-488-9303. Excuse me, at the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. Again, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com. Let me tell you about the folks at USS, United Structural Systems. They can actually help you. And boy, you might need help with all the rain we've had and all of the ice and snow. You may have foundation issues. You may have waterproofing issues. They're the folks you want to turn to. I mean, they got a good reputation. By the way, they're just delightfully lovely people. I mean, you're really going to love working with them. The people that own the company, I mean, Class A folks, that for sure. They'll give you peace of mind. They have 25,000 satisfied residential customers. How's how it works. They'll come out to your place. They'll take a look at what's going on, and they're just going to give you the solution. You know, they're the experts. They're going to give you a good solution, and then they'll say, okay, what do you want to do? And if you want to go forward, then you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you're completely satisfied. And they have a lot of satisfied customers. People rave about this company. Chris said, I appreciate the integrity, the speed of feedback, the quality of work. Mark said, so much experience made me feel comfortable. They had the right repair plan. I could tell they wanted the job to be right, not just done. Jerry said, this is the best crew we've ever had work on our house. Listen, this is the kind of company you want to do work with. And, listen, it's concerning when you have these kinds of problems, but they will help you get through it, I promise you. At USS, they guarantee their best, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com, 615-488-7855.
It is 6:01. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Currently 51 degrees in Nashville and expecting a clear, maybe even mostly sunny week ahead. Latest forecast, traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Another state is considering using nitrogen gas to execute inmates by lethal injection. Here's Derek Dennis.
Ohio Republican lawmakers have introduced a bill that would allow execution by nitrogen gas, following Alabama. They say it's an alternative method and a more humane one for carrying out capital punishment. State Attorney General Dave Yost in a news conference saying death row inmates who would be eligible have typically committed heinous crimes.
People who are the worst, whose sentences are deserved, who are still sitting and waiting their day of justice.
Critics say nitrogen gas is untested and lacks evidence of being more humane.
Right now in Tennessee, the bodies of a woman and a baby, presumed to be mother and child, were found dead inside of a unit of the Haynes Garden Apartments on Whites Creek Pike. Drugs were also found inside. They seem to have been involved. No foul play is expected. The United States has suspended funding to a UN Gaza relief organization while it investigates claims that some of its workers may have been involved in the Hamas October attack on Israel. Andy Field.
The U.S. has already given more than $120 million to the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, also known as UNRWA, but that's now on hold.
Funds that we were planning to provide to UNRWA, that funding has been suspended.
State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller saying some of those UNRWA workers may have helped with the October 7th attack on Israel.
Here in Tennessee with a crime story, a Davidson County correctional officer, Bryson Hayes, is facing assault charges after a jail-related incident in December. An arrest affidavit says Hayes punched an inmate with a closed fist and put him in a chokehold after the inmate spit on him twice. Hayes is currently on administrative leave pending a temporary transfer to a non-public safety position while the criminal case is pending. Hayes posted a $3,000 bond and was released yesterday afternoon. And record ratings for Sunday's NFL playoff games. Jason Nathanson.
When the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore Sunday on CBS.
And it's caught by Kelce for the touchdown.
A record number of people were watching, an average audience of 55.47 million viewers, the biggest audience ever for an AFC championship game. The audience for the later game on Fox, in which the San Francisco 49ers beat the Detroit Lions, was even bigger at 56.3 million. Not a record, but the most watched NFC title game since 2012. And it's the first time in 10 years both broadcasts topped 50 million.
And it's been estimated that there will be record audiences for this year's Super Bowl as well. That's the latest news, weather, and traffic. Up next, I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's the fourth and final hour of this Tuesday show. We've got another hour to go before we hand it over to Mark Levin at 7 o'clock, and he'll continue to bring us news and information, carry on through the evening. And he does carry on. I mean, he carries on and he carries on. But, I mean, in a good way. Listen, I tell you what, I stand in awe of that guy. I really do. He's entertaining. And that's what you've got to be. But he gives you information and a perspective you hadn't thought about. I genuinely love his show. And I think, if you've hung around after this show, you know just exactly what I'm talking about. We got another hour to go here of this program. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the Mideast. I do think that the Secretary of State is correct when he says the following.
I would argue that we've not seen a situation as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973.
1973. And I think he's right about that. But I think what's missing in that statement is the reason why the Mideast is such a disaster area and why it is so fraught with peril right now. Let's talk about what happened on October 7th. Would that have happened if the Iranians had a healthy respect or fear of the United States and the current president of the United States? No, I don't think that they would have they wouldn't have supported groups like Hezbollah, Hamas. They would not support these other militia groups that are now attacking our troops in the region. And we've lost 3 soldiers recently. Sad. And none of this would be happening if the United States was not perceived as a weakling and the president perceived as being completely ineffectual. I mean, it all really started shortly. I know I'm singing this song all the time, but it's true. It began in Afghanistan when Biden thought he's such a know-it-all. He thinks, my gosh, I know I'm a well-respected foreign policy expert. After all, I was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And after all, I advised Barack Obama about foreign affairs for 4 or 8 years there. And then when I was vice president, I know what I'm talking about. When I speak about foreign policy, people listen. And I say that's true. They do listen. And if you're smart, you do exactly the opposite of what he recommends. I mean, it's been a joke. Bob Gates, who was a director of the CIA at one point, said that, he's never seen a person who was so more universally wrong on foreign policy than Joe Biden. He said, if you want to follow the right foreign policy initiative, just do 180 degrees different than whatever Joe Biden recommends, and you'll come out great. He's just a disaster. And so, you have him in Afghanistan. I know better than the commanders. I know better than the national security experts. We're getting out of Afghanistan, and we're getting out of Afghanistan now, and it turned out to be ugly, and people died, and we left a bunch of military equipment behind in the hands of the Taliban. We strengthened the Taliban, and they completely turned that part of the world into utter chaos, all because he thought he knew better. That's just the way he is. He's cocky and self-sure, and mostly often he's wrong. And when the Taliban kicked us all over the place on the way out the door, our enemies in the world, they noticed. North Korea noticed. They started acting badly. China noticed, started acting badly. Russia rolled the tanks into Ukraine. And Iran, gave the green light for its operatives in the region to carry out the attacks against Israel, knowing full well that we weren't going to do much about it. Oh, we send some ships, put them in harm's way, and we try to support Israel, which we should do. But Israel would not need supporting if it had not been for the weakness of the United States and this current president. I mean, listen. So, yeah, it is a mess. Anthony Blinken is right when he says,
I would argue that we've not seen a situation as as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973.
But he should add, because Joe Biden is an idiot. But he doesn't add that part, does he? He says, we had 3 service people who were killed this weekend by a drone strike, and they're still trying to figure out how that happened. I think the answer is they were watching one of our drones, and an enemy drone slipped in right behind it, and it was difficult to see it apparently on radar or to track it because he was right on the tail, and I think that they think that's how it happened, but they're still working out the details of all that. But the drone strike killed 3 American service people, and now we need to respond. Well, why? Because America says we got to respond, and we should. We should respond. We should respond in a very forceful way against the people who enable all of these proxy groups that are working for Iran. We should do something to Iran, but we won't. Every time that you hear the president or any of his spokespeople talk about it, well, we're not seeking a war with Iran. We don't want to widen this thing. So they're going to do something to be able to say they did something, but it's not going to amount to much. We had a sound from a congressman who was on yesterday on the Armed Services Committee, said he'd been talking to commanders in the region, and they say, yeah, we do something whenever they fire a missile or they fire drones at us. We go out and we bomb an empty warehouse. Now, the press can't get out there and report that it's empty, but apparently that's the assessment of the military when they do their BDA, their bomb damage assessment. They find out that, well, it wasn't much and, nobody was really hurt. It's not really having an impact if you don't hurt them. But now Biden doesn't really want to widen the thing. He needs to show that he's doing something. And apparently, he says here, according to justthenews.com, he has decided what the response should be. President Joe Biden said Tuesday, that's today, that he's made a decision on how to respond to the drone attack that killed 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan this past weekend, but the U.S. doesn't need to have a wider war in the Middle East. Biden made the comment in response to reporters yelling questions as he departed the White House by helicopter. Oh, yeah, that turned out ugly. I mean, here he is talking, and you can't hear a word he's saying. I've just read you what he said, but you can't hear it. And this was this morning on Fox. Dana Perino, who I just adore, I think she's great, was just infuriated that this is the way the President of the United States communicates to people today on the world stage.
I do hold responsible for supplying the weapons to people.
That's terrible to me. That's terrible. If they at the White House Communications Office want him to make news and want him to take questions, do it in a way where the American people, our allies and our adversaries can hear him clearly. And then you won't get all the questions as to his mental capacities because you could actually hear him if he's being coherent. I find it professionally insulting as somebody who used to work there that they think that this is good enough for the president to take a question like that when you can't actually hear him above the rotating blades. The other day, he was at the Nowhere Coffee Company. He answers a very important question about troops that have just been killed. It's not good enough.
No, it's not good enough. Lost in that attack were Specialist Breonna Moffett, age 23, Sergeant William Rivers, age 46, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, age 24. It was shocking to many that yesterday the White House had to admit that the president had not spoken to the families of the troops. Well, he got on that, because it was embarrassing, and they called him out on it. President Joe Biden spoke on Tuesday with relatives of the 3 service members killed in Jordan. He was grateful for their time, National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby said on Tuesday. He expressed to them how proud we are all of their service, how we mourn and feel sorrow over their loss, made sure that those families knew that not only was that service and sacrifice going to be honored, but they were going to continue to get the support that they need as they work through what no family wants to have to go through. Listen, I think John Kirby said words that probably did not come out of the president's mouth because the president is no longer that eloquent. But I do feel that, it was finally time for him to call. I don't know that he would have called had there not been sort of like, what? You haven't called the parents yet? The families gave him their support for him to attend the dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, and the president will be there in attendance, and that will take place on Friday. They call it the dignified transfer at Dover. So there you have that. 40 troops, by the way, injured in that attack, which the U.S. has said was carried out by Iranian-supported militias in Iraq. They've carried out 165 such attacks, and 120 different troops have been injured. These were the first fatalities. I hope to say that they're the last fatalities, but they probably will not be the last fatalities. And then there's this. You talk about not wanting a wider conflict. Apparently, on January 17th, in a press briefing, Brigadier General Pat Ryder was said of Yemen, "I'm not aware of any U.S. forces on the ground." But troops are on the ground in Yemen, according to a report from the White House. When asked if there was a presence, the Pentagon refused to acknowledge the reality earlier in January. Small number of United States military personnel are deployed to Yemen to conduct operations against al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and ISIS, the White House told Congress in a December 7th report. In a press briefing on January 17th, when the press secretary, Brigadier General Pat Ryder, was asked, "I'm not aware of any U.S. forces on the ground." He basically did not tell the truth. But I don't know what else you're supposed to do in a situation like that if it's classified. So it is apparently been told to the people on Capitol Hill that they are there, but they just don't like to talk about it. And that they're there fighting al-Qaeda, and ISIS is the word that is now coming back. 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Well, it's 35 years that Johnny Fleeman's Brass Lantern and Legends Restaurants have been working here in Middle Tennessee, and we want to welcome you to go by and try out some of their food. And by the way, Johnny wants to say thanks and Happy New Year by giving a list of some of the things you can get there. And here's some of the menu items you can get at these restaurants in the evening. They're fresh breaded chicken fingers with fries and coleslaw, $8.99. They're featuring slow-cooked prime rib and a side for $18.99. Wednesday, 6-ounce choice sirloin with a side, $8.99. Thursday, hamburger steak, $8.99. Sunday, they have 3 different pasta dinners, all $9.99. And remember, for over 35 years, the Brass Lantern and Legends Restaurants have given you authentic, made-from-scratch, delicious recipes at affordable prices. Good food, affordable prices. And they want you to continue to come by, but don't forget their daily lunch specials, which start at $6.99. Also, they remind you, don't forget to pick up some of those delicious Johnny Fleeman products at your local grocery store. It's 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. This is pretty interesting stuff, I think. Have you heard this? There's this whole thing going on right now with Amelia Earhart's plane. I mean, remember the story of Amelia Earhart? She's going to fly around the world. She disappeared in July of 1937 after leaving New Guinea and did not show up at her next location. Sorry, I'm having a little problem with my story here. But she disappeared. Now apparently they have found not far from a place where they thought she might have gone down. They have found an underwater sonar reading, which suggests it sort of looks like a plane, and they think it might be her missing plane, which has not been seen since 1937. That would be something if they could somehow, come up and figure that one out. But that's been a long-standing mystery. At times they have found things on a certain island out there in the Pacific that they thought could have potentially been part of a gas tank or some little thing that might have been in the plane. And there was a lot of suspicion that they had found the island, but they could never find any remains. They could never find any sign of humans having actually been on this deserted small island. And so the thought was, well, maybe she ditched the plane at sea nearby. This stuff washed up. Who knows what it was? But they now believe. I mean, they're going to go back out there and try to go back and relocate the sonar image that they have seen, which they say sort of looks like an airplane. Send somebody down there to take a look at it. It's not that deep. It's 100 feet.
Wow, wouldn't it be something if she was still in there?
They found that, like, the skeleton or something. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how the skeletons and human remains hold up over time. 1937, a long time ago.
That's true.
But I mean, boy, at the time, it was one of the great mysteries of the world. What happened to Amelia Earhart? And people have been trying to figure it out since 1937, and maybe they have found it out. Maybe they have found it out. Really remarkable. It was there were all kinds of stories about, I think it was about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, there was a whole spate of stories where they thought that they had found some new clues, but couldn't quite put it together and never did find the aircraft. Now they thought maybe she landed at this island, and then the island, it goes out a little ways. The water is shallow for a few feet off the island, and then it drops into sort of a deep trench. And so they said maybe she landed on the beach, but then it washed off and eventually fell into that trench where they would never be able to get at it. So, that was their operating theory, but maybe they found it now. And that would be a remarkable story.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. And then maybe, we'll find out about UFOs.
That's next on the list, I guess.
Next on our list.
Let's get Amelia first.
That's right. Let's call it 30 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, I've started a new thing. I'm trying to lose a little weight, beginning my journey to lose weight with helps of the folks over at Restoration Wellness Med Spa in Lebanon. You know, listen, I did lose a lot of weight last year, but guess what? After my appetite came back, so did the weight, and I don't want to get back up where I was. So I've never taken on a weight loss client before, but I really like the way that Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa approach this. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took time to sit down with me, talk about my history, talk about my lifestyle, and then they customize a plan that best fits my needs. Yeah, that's right. It's a customized treatment plan, very different from what you get at other places. So I began this week, and I'll be sharing how it's going in the days ahead. Why don't you do what I did? Set up an appointment to develop your own customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. Be a part of more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest technology in weight loss management. 615-470-8124. And learn more. This is their website. You know, think about this. Give them a look. RestorationWellnessMedSpa.com. It's almost 38 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We're here for about another 22 minutes and change. And then we hand it off to Mark Levin, the great one, and he continues on through the evening. Let's just do this 2024 update and talk a little bit about, where things are. Listen, we're in the thick of it. And if you care about this coming election, you need to check in every day. We'll give you a couple of bites of the apple every day. We'll do the 2024 updates a couple of times so that, and we'll try to move it around so that everybody gets a shot at it. Let you know where things are. And I got to tell you right now, things are not looking good. I don't even know why we bother anymore talking about Nikki Haley. She is not going to become, there's no way at all on God's green earth that she becomes the Republican nominee. It's just not going to happen. The polls suggest that Trump is, well, in one poll, leading Nikki Haley by 54 points. In the other, leading Nikki Haley by 63 points. I got a third one from the University of Houston where Trump leads Nikki Haley by 61 points. So, somewhere between 50 and 60 points. Haley, it's Trump 81, Haley 18. Well, why would you even stay in the race if that were the case? I don't know. I have a hard time understanding why, what the game is at this point, because you are not going to become the GOP nominee. Now, I'll say this again. I do not see a pathway for Nikki Haley to become the Republican nominee. I do see a possible pathway if she ran as an independent. Is that her game? I don't know. Everybody says no. That's not it. I'm just saying, if you want to be president and you look around and you realize that you're appealing to moderates and independents and some Democrats, then why would you want to try to continue to get the GOP nomination? You're not going to succeed. So I don't know. Keep an eye on it. Everybody says I'm crazy for suggesting this, but I don't know. I can see it. I can see that pathway, but I don't see a pathway for her to become the Republican nominee, and nobody can. So I'm trying to figure out what her game is. I really don't understand. General election. We have a couple of numbers here. This one is from Trump. This is Emerson. Trump leads Biden by 1 in the general election matchup. Of course, this is a popular vote, and we don't elect presidents by popular vote, but it is a nice metric to look at. And then the question becomes, well, okay, well, what if, just Trump versus Biden? Trump wins by 1. That's within the margin of error. There have been some out there that are larger than the margin of error. The average is about 4. Yeah, I think that's right, 3.84, about 4 points ahead of Biden. The question then becomes, well, what if you put in these people who are running in the middle? People like RFK Jr. and West and, the other crazy lady. What if you put them in there? Well, it tends to pull away from Biden, but not from Trump. So in a 4-way matchup right now, Trump wins by 2. So just straight up head-up match Trump-Biden. In this poll, Trump wins by 1. If you put the 4-way matchup, Trump wins by 2. So, by the way, I do note, and I've seen these stories out there, and I just scratch my head, that Soros wants to try to turn the state of Texas blue. That ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And the Texas University of Houston ran a poll about Texas and where Trump was in relationship to Biden in the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State. Biden gets defeated by 9. Trump over Biden by 9 in the state of Texas, the way it looks right now. That's sort of what it would happen here, if not a bigger margin. So I don't understand why you keep throwing money at that. Texas is still a red state. And yes, the center cities are blue, but the vast majority of the state is ruby red. And generally, when you start you might lose Dallas, you might lose Houston. You're definitely going to lose Austin. Austin is just about as liberal as it gets. But, the rest of the state is all going to be solid red. Odessa, Midland, the Panhandle, other parts, San Antonio, all going to be pretty red. All right, so there's the numbers. Take that for what it's worth. All right. How many times have we now had this question come up about whether or not Trump can be disqualified because of the so-called insurrection clause, 14th Amendment of the Constitution? And how many times have we heard states that said, no, you can't do that? It happened again. I mean, the only one that has, is really, I think it's Maine and Colorado. Maybe, is there anybody else? I don't know. But I think Maine is sort of a question about what will happen there. But But it's going to the Supreme Court. But Colorado is the only one where they took the case to the Supreme Court to decide whether it's case. I think the Supreme Court's going to come back and rule that this is a stupid argument. Most other states have already come to that conclusion. The Illinois State Board of Elections today voted to keep former President Donald Trump on the primary ballot, reasoning that the board doesn't have jurisdiction over constitutional matters. The vote was unanimous from the 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans. It would have taken a majority to remove Trump from the ballot. It would have taken 5 votes. So all of the Democrats and 1 Republican would have to vote in favor to have had that outcome. The latest decision in Trump's favor amid efforts across the country to knock him off the ballot for violating the so-called insurrection clause. Look, I can't see a scenario. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I'm not. But, the people that I really respect who have a good grip on reading the Constitution, people like Jonathan Turley and Alan Dershowitz and Ted Cruz, who's a great legal mind, maybe one of the best legal minds to ever come through Harvard, they say. None of these guys believe that the Supreme Court will find that he's somehow violated the insurrection clause and therefore cannot be put on the ballot. In fact, Ted Cruz said, I'd say it's 60-70% that it'll be a 9-0 ruling by the high court. And that's going to happen. They're going to stop what they're doing on other things and consider this question. And there may be some other questions they consider as well. This is an interesting story, and it's a little deep in the weeds, but I think it's worth hearing. Bear with me as I work through some of this. From the Washington Examiner, Obama-era directive could alter presumption about Trump's document case, according to a legal group. A little-known Obama administration directive intended to shield the White House from foreign cyber attacks may be relevant to former President Donald Trump's liability in his criminal classified documents case, according to a FOIA request from a conservative legal group known as America First Legal, AFL. They wanted to know something about a secretive information technology committee created by Barack Obama after the fall 2014's foreign cyber attacks breached an unclassified network that serves the executive office of the president. Long story short here is that he said in a memorandum, Obama did, that the vice president, that the president has exclusive control over the information resources provided to the president, the vice president, and this special technology group that was put together. Moreover, it made clear that any records sent to the EOP systems or records stemming from those systems are controlled by the president. Now, it can be, some people believe that this memo may have created a reasonable belief in President Trump's mind that he, in fact, had the authority to do with these documents as he pleased. Additionally, if the records Trump allegedly destroyed are still preserved within the EOP or the U.S. Department of Defense, then the claims made against him might be baseless. I remember when Obama mistakenly outed some stuff and mistakenly let some classified documents, get out there. He revealed something that he wasn't supposed to reveal. I don't remember exactly what it was. And everybody say, well, he's violated the law. And the answer came back very quickly. No, because the president can't at will, but by simply saying that something is, he automatically at that moment declassifies it. And he's the only person who can do that. All of the intelligence that's gathered ultimately is supposed to go to him. And if he says on any whim, or even if he makes a mistake and says it, he has the authority, by simply saying it, he has officially declassified it, and you can't prosecute him for it. So, you have ultimate control over those documents, and there's a lot of argument to be made here that that case against him is going to perhaps fall apart. I think it should. By the way, real quick, Apple Vision. Have you thought about these Apple goggles that are out there now? I see the pictures. I see the ads over the weekend. I didn't understand that it wasn't a virtual reality thing. These are goggles that you look through, and then it places computer-enhanced stuff on the world, on the real world.
Yeah, it's kind of like you imagine the old Terminator when you would see through the Terminator's eyes. He could see everything around, but it also had all this information that he could see as well.
And that's what it is. Yeah. And so they're out there now, and apparently there's some people talking about what you can do. They're $3,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that for most people that it would work just yet. That stuff will come down. But the idea is that you're placing computer data on the real world, and that of course you look goofy, but
yes.
Apparently they say there's a lot of things that you can do with them, and I don't have the time to go through them right now. But they say that it can be used for working. You could, instead of work at a keyboard, you reach out in the real world and touch things that look like they're floating in the air. It's apparently it's good for communication, and apparently you can see 3D movies through them.
I've heard they're pretty heavy. That's one of the drawbacks is that it's not comfortable to wear for long periods of time.
Yeah, but my sense of that is that will probably change with the passage of time. Everything gets smaller as you go forward.
Yeah.
The problem is with phones, they got so small that you couldn't really even do anything with them. So they decided they had to start making them bigger. That's right. Well, it is now 50 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. All right, if you've lived in Middle Tennessee for a long time, you know that Eurofix has been here for some 24 years, the place you go for European car repair, and we've gotten to watch them grow. I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business that takes off and starts to do well. They now have 5 different locations, a 5th location in Mount Juliet now for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. So it's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic who started in a barn in the backyard of a single-wide trailer grow to 5 locations, now repairing thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair. So call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.